Welcome to Wagons of Steel. It's a party and everyone's invited. Today I'm making a video about racing and what I love about it and what's hard about it and what's great about it. I'm going to start with the really cool, great stuff. Yesterday I took my son out drag racing. I mean, he's been to the track a bunch of times, but yesterday was the first time he's actually run a car down the track. You know, we tried before with one of our big wagons, and we brought it out and it had a crack in the windshield, so he wasn't allowed to race it, and that was a disappointment. But he really handled it well, which means that he's a candidate for a lifetime of drag racing addiction, because handling disappointment well is part and parcel of drag racing, unfortunately. He has a 1967 Dodge Dart, which I'm going to make a video about sometime in the near future. And it's a cool car. It's a really cool car. It's a white two-door post, which is a very rare type of Dodge Dart. And it's got a slant six automatic, and it, you know, like a good slant six, it runs like a golf cart. And it came with a 340 engine, which is the perfect engine to put into a Dart. But for now, we encouraged him to, you know, go out and learn how to drag race and have fun with it as a slant six car for a while, because, you know, eventually you'll make it into a cash-eating heartbreaker. So why not have fun with it while it's just a reliable, slow car, but super cool. And so we brought it out to the track, and he's been working, so he's got lots of money for an 18-year-old, and he was able to afford to, you know, go to the big money drags. It was it's the, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's the Fred Hoffman puts it on. It's the Drag Kings, the Bracket Kings, 4th annual Bracket Kings, where everybody throws $100 in the pot, and then it's a pretty big cash payout at the end. And I was going out to it, and he said, "Yeah, I'll go. I'll pay." So he'll borrow the money from me to pay, because kids these days, they don't carry cash, and this is an old man race and everybody had to pay cash, whatever. So he went out and ran the car down the track, and it ran 21-second quarter miles and was relatively consistent, and his lights got better all day, and he didn't win any rounds, but he had a blast, and you could just see the smile on his face. It was really fun. That made my day. My car, I brought out, you know, I finally thought I had that thing together. Well, I did. It was running good, and it had a 1105 written on the window, you know, with the dial in from the last time it was out racing. And I jumped in it, and I cut an 02 light and ran an 1106 in my first run off the trailer. So I was like, well, we're on to something here. Maybe today Dad's gonna win some money. And then shit just went sideways from there. We were called. They called us for the second time trial of the day, and the car was it wouldn't start. It wasn't dead. All the pumps, and, you know, the fuel pump, the water pump, the fan, all that stuff turned on. It all worked, but it wouldn't start. So it was like the ignition wasn't working. And we weren't getting power to the coil, and we were chasing our tails, and we had a bunch of other projects going, not the least of which was my son's car. And then, you know, Steve's getting ready to go to the bracket finals in Boise, so he had two cars. We were trying to get ready for, you know, the big event there, and we just didn't have time or anything to figure out what the hell was wrong with the ignition system in my long-suffering stock eliminator car. So we basically just gave up and said, you know, we'll just watch Steve race today and my son and have fun. And then everybody was off. You know, I think Steve was running a car in pro, and I don't know what Joe was doing. And I was just standing in front of the car, and I'm like, you know, I think that negative terminal is loose, because, you know, when the car's not running, you take the negative terminal off so it doesn't discharge anywhere, and you know, for charging purposes, whatever. And then I just put it back on, and, you know, it just drops into place, and it's not like something you can notice is loose. But then I, you know, tweaked it a little bit. I was like, yeah, that is very loose. That's just sitting there. So I tweaked it a little bit, and then jumped in the car, and boom, fired right up. It's like, oh my gosh. so what am I going to do with this now? And I noticed that the last few cars of Pro were in the lanes, and so I could still jump into Pro, and so I tightened everything down and jumped in the car and went up into the lanes and got in there and had to run around to get my helmet. It was just a big cluster, what, and but I did make a pass, and the car, it was good. It was a decent light, and it went down the track in like 11:20, which was weird. And was it 11:20? It was 11:15, which was a tenth slow, but the air was getting worse. And here's the thing. I hope I don't make this video too long, but talking about this kind of stuff, but that car, that stock Eliminator with the 426 max wedge with the high compression, it doesn't behave like a typical race car. Like when the air gets worse for a 350 Chevy or a Slant 6 or a 318 or a normal type of engine that doesn't have two giant carburetors and 11.5 to 1 compression ratio, when the air gets worse, they slow down. But my car doesn't. It doesn't slow down, and I should have known that it was, as it was slowing down, there's something wrong. And but I figured, it was, it could have been anything. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons you could lose a tenth, but I just wasn't sure. And so then the next pass I made, it slowed down to 20, and I won that round. And it was, I should have right then and there said, there's something wrong. But again, it wasn't that slow. And then the next run I went down the track, I dialed in an 18, which is kind of a weird dial in. If I thought maybe I'd lost a tenth and I was going to get it back, I should have dialed hard at 10 or dialed slow at 11:25 or whatever. 18's a weird dial. I thought it was weird when I was putting it on there. That has no bearing on the story. What happened was I was up against my friend Kenny O'Keefe, and I had the lane I wanted, and so the burn-off sounded good, the oil pressure is good, everything was good, and Kenny O'Keefe's, he's like the first guy I raced against in competition back in 1994. Remember that, Kenny? And his car was dialed in at a 13-something, and my car was dialed in at 11:18, so that meant that he left 2.5 seconds faster than me, and my light comes down, and I left, and from the second I left, it was not as fast as it could be. I lost a tenth in the 60-footer, which is something you definitely feel in your butt. It's like you can tell how fast your car is going by that launch, especially after you've been down the track as many times as I have. And then about at the 8th mile, I felt like a little stutter, and I just let off because Kenny's a really good racer, and if your car stutters a little bit on your way down the track, it's over. You might as well just save your gunpowder. You're not gonna make up for that. And then it never made like a really loud or crazy noise or anything, but it felt really bad, and so I got off the track as fast as I could, and then I looked at the expressions of the guys on the big end. They have a track crew up there to clean up any messes or anything, and they were just looking at my car like. And so I not only pulled off onto the return road, I pulled off the return road, because you're not supposed to grease the whole track in the return road. Well, it turns out I did actually grease the whole track, because my engine went kaboom. I mean, when I pulled over and looked under there, they said, there's something pouring out of your engine. I'm like, God, what isn't pouring out of my engine? There was water and oil and blood and tears and puke, and I mean, just like everything coming out of that thing. And then I was afraid to open the hood and look at what was under there, and oh my God, when I saw God, it's hard to explain, what. Well, let's go take a look at it right now. Oh, poor baby. So much blood, sweat, and tears in this thing. from the top, it looks okay. Whoa. Look at that. That's not good. Tread carefully, Gaffo. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So you can see there's water, there's oil. That makes the milkshake. And I don't know if we're going to be able to actually see here. When I look down here, nah, it's too dark in this trailer. But down in here, parallel to the bottom of the engine, parallel to the ground, is a big crack. Like a really big crack that you can see into the engine through, even from up here, if it were out in the sun or something. And then over here, another thing you can't see, but down in there, if you get the light just right, you'll see there's a hole that's big enough to stick your fist into, and you can see the top of the oil pan. And the only time you should ever be able to see the top of the oil pan is when the oil pan is sitting on a bench. That is just unacceptable. So, the boys are going to go to Boise and race the bracket finals, since they've both been having a really good year racing in the points program at Pacific, and they're qualified. So basically they're going to use this trailer and truck combination. So we'll take this car out and park it in the shop, and I'll get back to work. I got a lot of stuff to do. So that's next week. So in a week and a half or so, this engine will be out of the car and we'll know what happened. So that brings me to, it's not exactly, it's a small consolation, but I'm going to have a contest. And here it is. So in the next 2 weeks, today is August 28th. So in the middle of September, I am going to award a free Wagons of Steel t-shirt to whoever can tell me what happened to this engine. We'll know, and I'll put up a video and I'll let you know what's happened. And I'm not opposed to giving out multiple shirts. So put your guesses in the comments down below what you think happened to this engine. And if you get it right, the first one for sure, and maybe more, or if you have some really great story, let me know. Write it in the comments down below. Then I'll message you and get your address from you, and I'll send you a t-shirt. So the clues so far are it was not hugely noisy. It didn't go boom, clatter, 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 clatter. It just like hesitated. And there's a giant crack in the passenger side, and there's a giant hole in the driver's side, and all the water and oil came out. The transmission's fine, the rear end's fine, the drive shaft's fine. So there's your clues. Let my disaster be your free t-shirt. So put your comments down below. Tell me what you think happened to the engine. If you get it right, I'll send you a t-shirt. So for now, just gonna keep on keeping on. And hey, bonus points if you can think of something I can do with my program for next year. I'm still kind of figuring that shit out. I love drag racing, and I really love stock eliminator racing. And I've said this to people before, and I'll say it again. Don't do what I do. And I don't mean this like a street outlaws. Oh, we do stupid stuff and don't do what we do because you get yourself killed. I mean, don't do this because it's a totally addictive habit. And I mean, already I'm thinking about, well, how can I put another engine together? I mean, we've got a bunch of other engines, stock eliminator blocks around, and when we take it apart, we'll see what is still salvageable. I mean, I think the heads should be fine. There's no reason the heads should be messed up. I mean, if the valves could be messed, I mean, who knows? I'm hoping for the heads. I know the intake's okay. Of course, the carburetors are okay. The headers are okay. The oil pan's still holding oil. I mean, you can see the top of it. Not that that's worth a whole bunch. So I don't know. We'll see. I've got a few different ideas, but hey, I'll put out a video every week or so. I'm trying to get better with that, and I'll let you know what the thoughts are in my head. For now, just woke up this morning. Like, God, did that really happen? Still kind of digesting this. Okay, well, in the meantime, keep them smiling, keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up, and if you possibly can, learn from me and keep the wet stuff inside the engine.